I wouldn't mind if you divulged.
But these trying to keep it real. Look,
I want to hear some shit.
You want to hear some muck. What's the weirdest shit you've run into? I mean,
my favorite story is this young couple came in. Mm-hmm. You know, the guy was ex-convict. He had been in prison a couple of times, and the last time he went, the woman he came to the session with had actually sent him to jail, quote unquote, because she gave some information to the detective while she was angry, and he went to jail for 2 years because he was violating former parole or probation.
Wow.
And so, you know, they came in and started talking. The girl was using all this phraseology from Love and Hip Hop and, you know, all these different, reality TV shows. She was saying things like, she was clapping a lot. You need to get your life. She was saying things like that. At one point, she was like, "You team too much." She started telling him that he's teamed too much.
Oh, he's teamed too much.
Yeah. So she started going like this. She started making a circle with her finger around my face, like from a distance. I like him. And then she was saying, I want to come see you by myself.
Good morning, everyone. 2Brospodcast, episode number 27. 27. We are fortunate to have Dr. Is it Doctor?
Nah,
no?
I'm a master's level therapist.
Master's level therapist. Okay, my man Don Sinkfield in the building.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. We are always interested in having guests, but more importantly, it is just a conversation. Hashtag join the convo. Brother John and I just decided to tape our rants, usually drunken rants.
You called it a rant?
Usually drunken rants that we just have filmed at Rudy's Bar, and we decided to take the podcast global.
Shout out to Rudy's Bar. Where's that? The Queens?
43rd and 9th?
9th.
Oh, okay.
Between 44th and 45th.
Right. Yeah. So there's a big pig outside.
Hell's Kitchen.
Oh, yeah, it's Hell's Kitchen's finest. It's the last real bar in New York City where you can get a pitcher of beer for $8.
Oh, man.
The seats are covered with what?
Duct tape, whatever they use to fix it.
Duct tape.
The seats have been repaired over and over.
It's duct tape.
Exactly.
It's just
straight up duct tape.
They're just colorful duct tape.
Oh, so they haven't been repaired with duct tape.
They're just covered with duct tape.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's like they probably made a repair once and then said, fuck it, just keep going. And it's like the thing. It's like people come there and they go, oh, I love this place. It's just a real bar.
Okay.
And so we sat in there one day and just decided, we was just talking and we're like, yo, dude, let's just record it. And so it started from a selfie to a selfie rant and posting it to, oh, shit, let's do a full episode. Mm-hmm. And we're happy to be at episode 27 with Mr. Don Sinkfield. So you are, you said, a what?
I'm a master's level therapist. I'm a LMHC.
Okay.
Licensed mental health counselor. Some interesting history is that most states had licensed counselors for decades, and New York didn't have licensed counselors until 2005.
Really?
And I was in the first 3,000 people to get licensed as a counselor. So when you talk about mental health clinicians in New York, it's generally social workers and psychologists who
that are recognized.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so
I never knew that.
Right.
So you couldn't be licensed in the state until 2000. What did you say? 2005?
Right. You could be a licensed school counselor, which I was one.
Okay.
But you couldn't be a mental health practitioner.
That's
licensed
interesting.
as
I
a
never
counselor.
knew that.
Yeah.
And the only difference for that would be you couldn't bill for the services and be able to get from the insurance companies and all that stuff. You weren't recognized as an institution.
Correct.
You could sit with someone on the couch and just talk shit to them, and they pay you privately, but you couldn't bill their insurance company as a.
That's correct.
Right.
But even if the person later complained and said, I got
Bad
advisement, or this person did some harm emotionally, in the scope of practice, you really wouldn't be recognized as a mental health clinician because you could be a licensed school counselor, but you couldn't be a licensed professional, mental health provider,
right?
If you weren't licensed in social work,
that's crazy,
or psychologist.
That's pretty that's pretty interesting. So, in your field, I remember you had the office here in the town over here.
Yeah,
You still have it?
Yeah.
You still have it?
Well, I have had 3 offices, and I'm on number 3, and this is like a permanent location.
So now you finally settled.
Yeah, and
I like that place you had up there. It was great.
Thanks, man. It was
really nice.
It was interesting. My first location.
Yeah.
There was like a guy that was coming there on Fridays with his girlfriend.
A client.
No, it was
just
like
the dude.
It was like I was sharing the office.
Okay.
With several other businesses.
Okay.
Okay.
And there was a guy who had a surveillance business, and it was like his girlfriend would come there on Fridays. They were playing reggae music. The landlord also moved in a family. Kind of like, it was like a business office, but he moved in a family that was renting like an apartment there. So you would smell food cooking. It was too much going on. So we had to move from that location.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
That is weird.
But you had mentioned, I mean, we speak sporadically, our family friends and stuff, and we run into each other all the time. You're a dope lyricist, by the way. This guy gets on the mic and won't stop.
Oh yeah?
Oh, he gets busy. He gets on the mic. But you've mentioned to me one time that, and this is why I thought of bringing you on the show, was you had mentioned to me that, and this was way before the crave is now, you mentioned that most of your cases deal around social media.
Oh, well, I think about 2/3 of what I do is couples counseling. And yes, one of the biggest problemos in
social media
in couples now is that people are, finding what's happening on social media or on Tumblr or, Facebook Messenger, all types of stuff is happening behind closed doors, and people find out, and that brings problems to the relationship.
Wow. So, I mean, and again, we don't want you to divulge anything you can't tell, client privileges or whatever, but
I wouldn't mind if you divulged.
But trying to keep it real.
I want to hear some shit.
You want to hear some muck. But it gets kind of weird, right? Doesn't it get violent? Does it get? I mean, have you had some cases where people are like, "Oh my God, he's gonna kill me"? What's the weirdest shit you've run into? I mean,
my favorite story is this young couple came in. The guy was he was ex-convict. He had been in prison a couple of times, and the last time he went, the woman he came to the session with had actually sent him to jail, quote unquote, because she gave some information to the detective while she was angry, and he went to jail for 2 years because he was violating former parole or probation.
Wow.
And so, they came in and started talking. The girl was using all this phraseology from Love and Hip Hop and, all these different, reality TV shows. She was saying things like, she was clapping a lot. You need to get your life.
Oh.
She was saying things like that. At one point,
you coming for me?
At one point she was like, "You team too much." She started telling him that he's teamed too much.
Oh, he's teamed too much.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And then finally, I thought she was trying to antagonize him by acting like putting too much attention on me.
Oh.
So she started going like this. Started making a circle with her finger around my face, like from a distance. I like him. And then she was saying, I want to come see you by myself. This is what she was saying.
Holy shit.
So,
that's a pretty fucking weird story.
Yeah.
You probably had a nut job in your office. That's what it seems like. Because it seems like I know a handful of counselors that stopped doing couples counseling because it seems like nobody ever wants to get to the truth and how to reconcile it so that we as a unit can be better. Everybody wants to be right. Like this person wants to be right, that person wants to be right,
a lot of
and
that.
they want validation for how they feel, as opposed to having somebody tell them the truth and saying that, well, you know what, you did kind of do these things that kind of like led to all this other stuff here. So how are we going to get to the truth? I mean, is that a difficult thing to do?
No, I think
to get at to where are we meeting here in the middle that's causing our problems? Because you're just as much of a problem as you say this other person is.
I think you're correct. I mean, people. One thing I always say is I think that people usually, unfortunately, wait too long to come to couples sessions, and by the time they come, one person or both people are convinced that I'm right, you're wrong, or at least I'm done.
Right.
And I think sometimes people come out of a matter of moral obligation, like I guess if I'm going to break up with her,
Let's do one last chance. Let's do this.
Right. I need to go to the couple session.
I need to make sure this is final, like
so that I can say, hey, well, we went to counseling.
we tried.
Right.
We went to counseling.
That's it right there. Like when let the record reflect that I went to couples counseling in November of 20 whatever, like that. Yeah.
Wow.
How long does it take to get to like somebody like for you to understand that somebody is actually committed to this process, because it is a process.
Yeah.
They have to somehow embody some trust in you, and at the same time you have to have some trust in them that they're giving you like the right information. How long of a process is that to understand that we're here to sort of like help each other? You have to give me information, and then because of that information, maybe I can show you or put you on a path to where things can be reconciled. Does that take a while?
I think you can see it immediately when a couple. I think the first session I can see when two people.
Oh, really? You could pick up on it right away.
I can see when two people have the intention, at least, to fix their relationship, because they're not wasting time with who's right and who's wrong. I think you were mentioning, like, if one person just wants to be right and wants to prove that, the whole first session is this person saying, and she did this, and she did that. First of all, I'm the only one who does this in a relationship. And just going on and on.
So this is a telltale sign of how this is going to go.
Right. It's blame and recrimination the whole session. That's what you said, a telltale sign.
Wow, that was a big word. What?
Recrimination.
Recrimination. We're getting smart here, motherfuckers. We're getting smart. We got quality people here. We got licensed people here. This is not just opinions anymore. So, I mean, that sounds crazy. How do you get people to? Are some people mandated by a law or something, and they say go get counseling, and then you got to go see this guy or whatever else? Like, are people mandated, and you're one of persons in the book? Or how does that work?
Yes, the court in Hempstead has us listed as a resource.
That's good.
Sometimes people come for a mental health evaluation. Sometimes people come for anger management or parenting classes, and
classes.
Yeah.
Are these young parents? Are these people that are just?
It could be any case in which the judge has decided that there was some kind of situation that the parent could use some assistance.
But okay, so how much do you think most of it is because they were I'm trying to drive at a point. Are people doing it because they're being told to do it, or they're doing it? How much do you see of genuine people say, "Hey, you know what, babe, we should go see someone"? And what's that process like? How do you go look up? I mean, me and my wife, we went to our pastor. We said, "Hey, help us out here. We don't know what the fuck is going on. This shit is spinning out of control." And the first thing he said was, calm down. Like, stop doing too much. Like, stop, slow it down so that you could kind of see, we're doing this out-of-body experience stuff. And it was like, okay, slow down. Just take it slow. And it seems like everything is self-available for people to just tone their life down. But there's so many external influences are just driving your life. Like, I think you just said it yourself. So many things are this, that, and everything is never me. You know what I'm saying? It kind of tells the story.
Right.
Wow, that's crazy. But I guess when people are mandated to it, I guess like an anger management. Remember that movie with
Oh yeah, the movie.
I feel pretty. I feel pretty. Fuck, Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
How can you? That was a great movie.
I can't remember.
And John Turturro.
You'll
Yeah.
It'll come.
Yeah. But
It'll come to me, but not now.
But they forced him to go to anger management. But all through the process, everyone was in on it to fucking make him crazy. Like, so they literally made him crazy by going to anger management. He was like, I'm not fucking angry. You know. Like,
Help to Adjust, which is my company in Valley Stream. We're a private practice.
Private practice. Okay.
So in most cases, people who find us have found us because they're looking for a counselor.
Because they're looking for help.
Okay.
So they are Googling counselor Valley Stream, counselor Nassau County, marriage counselor, anger management Nassau County, whatever it is they're Googling, they're coming up with us in the search results and calling voluntarily.
So are you able to give someone a certification that they've gone through X amount of hours? What does that mean? You just write them a letter saying, I saw this guy, he's a patient of mine, and do you then make a recommendation that he doesn't need any further help? Because wouldn't that be like, where does it end? Like,
At times, the courts ask for that. Like they ask for an analysis of, look, what do you think? Like in a mental health.
But that's what I mean. Like, what do they ask you? They ask.
They do.
Yeah, comes from your office. You say, look, we looked at the guy. We didn't see anything other than. Because that's what you're kind of doing. You're going under the hood and trying to say, like, what's wrong with this car? It won't start.
You're saying, come get him.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to next. Do you have that? Can you wield that wand and say, come get this guy? He's fucking nuts.
I mean, it's all paper.
Yeah.
You can, we can say, I believe this person is
unstable,
likely to be a danger to himself or others in the future.
I see.
Person needs help with. I mean, usually we don't go that far to say that this is a dangerous individual,
right?
Because what happens is that if they send someone for a mental health evaluation or anger management, usually what is really happening is the court is saying, we don't really think you're dangerous, but we want to cover
their ass.
Right. We want to say there was an intervention. Go for the mental health evaluation, take the anger management, then come back to us.
Right.
And so usually what I will say if I believe that a person is still struggling with family situations, impulses, dealing with their own emotions, that I recommend further counseling. Usually that's as far as we'll go.
Okay, so you flea flicker, you throw it off to someone else and say, I think you should go for more sessions. Do you recommend yourself for more sessions, or do you?
It's totally up to the person. So we don't have to say we think you should go here or there.
Right.
We just say the person should seek more intervention. And in some cases, in a lot of cases, you really can't tell what's happening enough unless the person really wants to open up. But often people want to talk about what's happening with them. Right. Like they come in saying, like, sitting like this and saying, I'm just here because I was sent. And then after session 2, they're like, this is not bad. I kind of thought that I was going to be told that, you got to do this or you're a little off in this way. And then when they realize that counseling is about validating what is happening with you, normalizing what's happening with you, and then dealing with your strengths, really, helping you to build on your strengths more so than pointing the finger.
So that's dope. I mean, so there's an uplift here. There's some encouragement. There's some, hey, it's the old John Wooden quote from UCLA. That is. See, I'm learning.
You're like a cultural,
John
expert
Wooden
here.
is the coach from UCLA, and he says, "Stop worrying about the things you can't do.
Oh, okay.
Let's focus on what you can do.
What you can do.
And the more negative energy you keep, I have a lot of friends that just, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't have this, I can't have that. Well, what can you have? Like, talk about the good stuff. It's like the news. It's dangerous at all times. It makes you if you watch the news, you'd be afraid to come out of the house. Yeah. This is happening. There's rapists and muggers outside. By the way, on your Facebook, where you write your name, I hate it. You know why? Because
you told me this 7 years ago.
Because it says the rapist. And it's therapist. It says Don Sinkfield, the rapist. And I'm like, every time I read it, I go nuts. It's the good rapist or something. If you write it out, the therapist, but it looks like
Don Good Therapist Sinkfield. Don Good the Rapist Sinkfield. It looks kind of strange to people.
it just looks weird to me.
And shout out to Mikey D, Laurelton, legend MC. He was on
Destruction.
He was on live one night, and I was in the live audience, and he saw my name, and he's like, "The Good Rapist Sinkfield."
See, I'm not alone.
Good the Rapist.
Mikey Destruction is on my wave. I did shirts for Mikey, so he did elements of hip hop.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, that's where that microphone is from. It's on your shirt. I took it from Mikey D's shirt.
Elements of hip hop.
Well, I did a shirt for him, and he has a microphone in the middle of it. So when I made the shirt yesterday, I went into his folder, took the mic out, and put it there. So
that's cool.
We're in full sync here.
Do people have an aversion to counseling?
I think people start off like what I was saying. They start off coming in like,
tough guys.
I really didn't want to do this. We have something that I call spouse mandated counseling or significant other mandated counseling, in which a guy comes in usually because the lady in his life said, if you don't get some help with your anger or with something else, we're breaking it. Like, this is it. And so then he comes in like, all right, go ahead. What you gonna say to me? Right. And again, usually, if people aren't completely closed to it, they usually open up and end up feeling good about the sessions in some way. I had one guy who's a loyal client of mine now, comes every week, and he came for a couples session and then promptly kicked his lady out of the couples session and said, like, I'm going to come see you, Don, and we're going to talk. Yeah, so there's a lot of people who end up having an aversion, but they end up
because I think a lot of people start off with this notion that, well, you're trying to fix them.
Right.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that this has to do with like you said, sort of recognizing where your strengths are and where you're putting your energy. And that if you decide you want to, and I think it seems like you're kind of like a guide. Like you're saying, well, have you thought about putting your energy here? If you put your energy here, maybe a couple things can change for you. And it just seems like there's this notion that, well, you're just going to fix people. Like you're just going to get, you're done. Get out.
32 more hours left, and you'll be out of the microwave.
Well, and you got to talk too. I mean, it has to be two people having a discussion, so to speak. I remember in the Denzel Washington movie about Antoine Fisher. Yeah. And he says, "Well, look, we got a new one. We got 12 mandated sessions, and they don't start until you start talking." So, and they showed scenes where he was there like 3-4 times, didn't say anything.
Oh, so that means that didn't count,
right?
Oh,
so we can sit here as long as you want, but until you start talking, until we start having a discussion, nothing was going to progress. So he was in there doing office work, having lunch and stuff, and finally, he said, like you said, people eventually come around, and I think people want to talk. Yeah, I think ultimately people want to discuss their issues, because I don't think we get a lot of that, especially now. Right. We don't talk a lot to each other. We talk at each other. Right. We give each other all the good stuff. Hey, you see, if we looked at everybody's Facebook posts, we would think we're all just having a great time. Yeah. All the time.
Everybody's wonderful.
23 and a half hours a day. Everything's fantastic. Yeah. You would never know that this person is struggling. Maybe having, bad thoughts or things like that, or maybe thinking of suicide or stuff like that. Right. You would never think that. Right. And I think a lot of people just don't either know that they can talk to somebody or are just unwilling to just talk and just talk and not talk without feeling that you're being judged for it.
Right, because I think most of the time people think of counseling as related to something institutional. Like I might have to do counseling like if I got into trouble. Right. Or I might have to do counseling if my relationship wasn't right. Right. And one of the biggest things that people fear is coming in and being told you are wrong. Like you're the problematic person, some diagnosis, like you have anxiety. That's why you get angry so much, because you have this or you're that. But what happens is that people talk, and the talk is really
the normalization of it. That's
yes, and it's healing in itself with nothing else. Just to
get it out,
talk is healing, and then the normalization and the fact that somebody paraphrases what you say to them. You say to me, so I end up feeling, I end up getting pissed off when she does that. So when this happens, it makes you angry,
Right.
and then I explore it a little bit more. So the anger comes from what's underneath the anger? What do you feel should be happening, or what? And then as people talk, they actually feel validated. It feels like somebody else is understanding what I'm experiencing, and that is very healing. Then the other part of it is the problem. I think one of you mentioned problem solving, like how do you fix this, or you mentioned strength, like what just building people up in terms of what their strengths are. That ends up being part of it too.
Yeah, I mean, because listen, what often doesn't happen is what John said earlier, is that dialogue. Whenever you don't have a healthy dialogue, it doesn't have to be when it's too late to have the conversation about, shit, what are we eating tonight? How come you don't, so a lot of times, and I see it personally, when you have a conversation, it becomes very judgmental, and it's like, well, why would you say that? You're trying to say this, or you're trying to say that. Do you mean that I'm fat, and that's why you don't think? And it was like, a couple of comics have said this all the time. Guys aren't that fucking
complicated.
They're not that sophisticated. Yeah. We kind of say A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. I didn't mean 2 + 5 is 7. I didn't mean anything else by it. I just kind of said what was on my mind today, and it's not valid 5 minutes from now. Like, there's no underlying thought behind it. So, I mean, the male and female thing always seems to have a different way of looking at things.
Well, and sometimes the solution I found can be, it can be very simple. It can be, first of all, you have to, when you do have dialogue, it has to be honest dialogue. I mean, you can't, you're not really upset that somebody put 2 lumps of sugar in your coffee. That's not why you're upset. You're upset at something else. But this thing happens, and so now this is the thing that you're gonna, this is the thing you're gonna rally about.
Trigger.
Yeah, right. It's a trigger for something else. Me and my wife, we were going through something a couple months ago in which we were always like at each other's throats all the time. And then when we finally talked, we realized what was happening. I said, okay. So we figured, okay, this is what we're gonna do. When I come home, we'll stop whatever we're doing, and for 5 minutes, we'll just talk to each other about how our days were, and just acknowledge each other for those 5 minutes. Because she's real busy at work, and I'm coming off the train and all that stuff like that.
Right.
I got all this.
You got the street on you.
I got the street on me and whatnot. And so we realized that we weren't talking to each other about each other.
Right.
And so we said, well, let's take 5 minutes every day when we come home. You stop what you're doing. I won't get into my little thing, and we'll just have 5 minutes, and we'll say, hey, how was your day? Okay, well, how was your day? And then we can now go back into our thing, knowing that we somehow have validated each other.
That's excellent.
Right.
And it's worked. It's worked to the point.
Now you get a free lesson now. Now you get something to do.
Well, it worked to the point that we were just at least acknowledging each other, because sometimes you can just like talk past somebody so many times that you just feel like you're being ignored the whole time, even though you're right there.
It's a intervention we have called the KISS plan. Is for couples. KISS. Keep it something special. And the
keep
KISS
it simple,
plan.
stupid is what we say.
Right. That's the old. But what happens is that there's there's the 5 love languages.
I'm taking notes. Man. Keep going.
There's words of affirmation.
Okay.
Touch. Words of affirmation, physical touch. Then there is acts of service, and there's quality time. Acts of service.
That could be an act of service. It qualifies. Putting that one down.
You can put it all together: touch and acts of service.
Oh, he 2 for 1.
Quality time and gifts.
QT and gifts.
Yeah, those are ways that people receive and give love.
So and this is what you call, this is part of the KISS plan?
Yeah, because these 5 languages of love, everybody has a unique combination of what makes them feel right. So some people are quality time people, and if you have a quality time person, like a person that really wants quality time, if you give them gifts, it's almost as if you haven't done anything to express your love. Like, you know, look, I bought you the whatever. They were thoughtful gifts too. I did this, I did that.
But it means nothing to the person.
Right, the person really isn't absorbing that because they're really a quality time person. So, like in Caribbean cultures, a lot of times people are, people receive acts of service from their family of origin. Like, my father was the type to make sure to get us to school. He had like the clothes for us. He did all of these things. He picked us up. He made sure to get us the foods we liked or whatever.
Okay.
And that's Dad's way of saying, I love you.
Right.
I'm here for you. I'm your dad, nobody else, right? And so then people grow up and they start giving acts of service to their significant other. But the significant other really wants words of affirmation or some other
right, like flowers don't do it for everybody.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? You could bring home flowers. If I bring home flowers, what'd you do? It's what'd you do? What
guilty of some misdemeanor or felony
you fucked
that
up.
I don't know about.
You fucked up. You bring in flowers. What's going on? It's a peace offering or something. So like you said, you gotta kind of. So you have to actually find out what the person's receptors are in order, so positive and negative make it even, right?
Correct.
So if you could be giving someone flowers every day and they go, you know what, I really fucking hate these flowers. Like, I'm allergic. You have no thought to it. You didn't do anything. So that's good. That's healthy. So is that part of this? I guess that's part of the
Keep It Something Special plan. Basically, has all of these interventions, which you reminded me of when you said the talk, because one of the interventions is the 20-minute conversation. And so y'all did 5 minutes, but it still worked to make y'all connected in some way.
Probably goes longer than 5 minutes.
Well, probably does, but the idea is just to stop what's going on, and then just connect with each other.
Right. And so the interventions on the KISS plan are based on the love languages. So the 24-hour day is the quality time person. If your wife is a quality time person and you take her out for a whole day and you do stuff with her, not anyone else, just you and her, that's corresponding to quality time. And the 20-minute hug is physical touch. Okay. Not the 20-minute hug, I'm sorry, the 30-second hug. You're right. The 30-second.
That was
the 30-second hug.
You can hug someone for a long time until you start fucking crying. Like, I've hugged somebody and you hold them long enough and you'll really start pulling it out.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's not your fault.
Can't change who you are, Flip. No, it was funny. I was watching Heat yesterday and the scene in there where Al Pacino and the lady came and found her daughter dead. She's what happened? I want to see her. And he just hugged her and they both started crying. So yes, physical touch. But I love this plan. So do you give a little card to stick in your wallet and the person just kind of like goes, hey, let me activate the...
It's a piece of paper, full-size piece of paper. But yeah, people can refer to it. And I tell people that it's going to... one of the principles of this is act as if. So it's going to feel mechanical at first.
Right.
But you have to act as if this is something that is going to bring positive results. Act as if it's natural, even if it doesn't feel natural, and eventually it will feel more and more natural.
Because that's the problem. Like, I have a lot when I'm trying to do something different and try to communicate better and try. It sounds like I'm going, "Hi, babe, how was your day?" Really? Mine too. It feels that way to me. And so it's not genuine, and it's like, why isn't it genuine to you? And she'll constantly say, if you don't naturally feel like it, then fuck it, and then we just keep saying fuck it.
That's a big what you just said.
It just spirals out of control. It just goes to the point where we've gone weeks. Morning. And like, we don't even know what's fucking wrong. Like, it's just to the point of, I'm not talking to you, you didn't talk to me. I don't have to say nothing to you, you don't say nothing to me. And you figure maybe it'll just die down. And then, but then what's what's brewing is worse probably.
It's worse, and then you have the situation where you put 2 cups of 2 sugars in somebody's coffee, and all of a sudden they're pissed. God damn it! You know I don't like 2 sugars in my coffee, and and all this comes all this.
But that's pretty crazy.
How much is how the formulation of your KISS plan? How much does that deal with the or does it at all deal with the big 5 personality traits? Because it seems like it's recognizing that you are this type of person. Like this is who you are innately.
Yeah.
You are innately a giver. You are innately a quality time person. That's who you are. That's the foundation of what you are.
That's the foundation of the KISS plan. And it's not, and I don't want to take any credit for this. I didn't make up this KISS plan. It's just something we use.
Right.
But
some doctor did, right? Some psychiatrists coined it. I mean,
some couples therapists
coined the phrase, and hello.
But that's exactly what it is. It is the foundation is that everyone has a love language, and that it's these interventions that are based on the love language.
Right.
It's based on touch, the hug.
Right.
It's the 24-hour day is based on quality time. There's another one about spending time, like talking about a fantasy. That could be a combination of touch or,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun. So is and again, we are picking your brain. I said we wouldn't pick your brain, but we are picking your brain now because you're smart.
I'll take that. Thank you.
No, you know why? Because experience is what makes people smart. The more times you do this, a guy, a baker, first one doesn't come out great. Second one comes out a little bit better, and every time, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So, like anything else, if you're in this position in this field, the more you do it, I'm sure you're learning yourself on how to adjust, how to turn the volume up or down in certain cases. Now, are you able to? Do you have yourself? Don't you have personal? Like, I don't feel like dealing with this today with this guy. Like, do your clients ever get you that pissed off? Like, are you pissed off, or are you just fucking melodramatic all the time? I mean, do you have do you have a buffer somewhere where you go, not today, guys, I need a me time? Do you need a me time? Because you're taking everyone's fucking heat. You're taking everyone's. This is the Green Mile, right? The guy he sucks up everyone's cancer, and now you fucking gotta let it go somewhere. So, I mean, that's Jesus' problem. Like, he took everyone's pain and put it in a box, and then exploded. Whatever. So, I'm sure is there a time where a client calls you or has to, and you're not available?
Yeah, but I think more or less what happens is that
well, you manage it around your schedule. Like you put your schedule, you're a little bit more organized. And, right. Okay.
Yeah. But it is a very valid point that when people give you a lot.
Yeah, where does it all go? Like, it's got to go somewhere.
You do have to process it. So probably my colleagues are my therapists. Because I have 15 therapists with me.
Nice.
And I talk to people about when something really.
Well, I figured. I mean, it's funny. My doctor, he's got the worst fucking teeth. Like, and I'm like, dude, you're a doctor. And he's like, he said, I'm a doctor, not dentist. And I go, well, yeah, but you
should know somebody, right?
Right, that's what I mean. Don't you know a guy that could
y'all hang out together? Don't you?
Fucking breath is horrible. His teeth are jacked up, and he like, oh, hold on, why you? Oh, mow your arm, oh your ear, and I'm like, dude, you fucking look shitty. Like, you don't look healthy. Like, he doesn't look healthy, and I'm like, this can't be right. Like, so it's always wondered, like, I guess you're good for the goose, not
self-care.
the gainers.
Self-care is
right. Self-care.
You said you have 15 other counselors in your practice.
Wow,
that's a big practice. That seems to be it seems to be a big
practice.
Well,
big for private. Private.
We have 5 offices, physically 5 offices, but I have people who are school psychologists by day, school counselors by day, who come in and do therapy at night with Help to Adjust. So it's constantly happening. Like if you come in 10 o'clock in the morning, there's people coming in and out of their sessions.
Wow.
If you come 7 o'clock at night, it's probably going to be a different counselors there.
Okay.
But people are still coming in and out. And incidentally, we're coming up on some new office space at 70 West Sunrise Highway. Also.
Nice.
70
Congrats.
West Sunrise.
Congrats.
Highway. Get you right up.
So how does man, I forgot what I was gonna say. How does it work where I totally fucking forgot. I was gonna say something. I was trying to make it funny, but it didn't.
Well,
work
is of the private clients that you have, I know some issues that counselors have is with insurance.
out. That's what I was.
Do you accept insurance?
We accept
You do
insurance,
accept insurance?
yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
Because I know some counselors who don't accept insurance, and
A lot.
they do it for reasons that they don't want to deal with. I mean, there's a lot of administrative crap that goes in which you have to deal with insurance, but they also, I think, they want to pick and choose their clients as well. So, do you think that is there a difference between the client that's like privately paying and a difference between the client that like uses their insurance?
A difference, well, administratively for us is a difference, but it's really the same kinds of people who call. Like I think I said, 85% of the people that call are calling because
They're looking.
Yeah, they want to fix something.
That's
in
good.
Their life.
That's actually
It's-
healthy.
It's
I mean,
totally voluntary. Then you got another 10 or 15%, maybe approaching 20, that call
Mandated.
because the court told them they need to find a program, and they're like, "I'm gonna find a program."
Close to me.
You got people that wait until the week before their court date.
Wait until the judge. Yeah.
Right? Can you see me this week and give me a letter? You know,
Yeah, that
you have
came.
that. But then the insurance is a full-time job.
Really?
So shout out to Sharon, Basil, and Marlon, my office management crew. I mean, you really have to put effort into the insurance game because they
one thing wrong, you
don't.
they
dot
look
it-
for a reason not to pay
You don't
you.
dot an
Because,
I, you don't cross a T, and yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was getting at. I was going to say, how does today's climate of insurance, and thanks, John, for how does today's climate of what's approved, what's not, I mean, are you on the forefront of hoping something passes to make more acceptable? Is it more, where does the, what's stopping more people from doing it? Like, why wouldn't more people do? Is it because of the coverage, stuff like that, or people just don't know? Do most people have this coverage and they don't even know how to use it?
the coverage is usually there, but just how terrible it is the varying thing. So, just for instance, 1199, which is
Union. It's a union.
which is the most popular hospital union in New York and other places. If you have 1199 coverage, they cover 50 visits a year, almost no questions asked. You go to the mental health provider of your choice, and that's almost every week of the year you could go,
Right.
and they will cover it. And there's usually no
52
copay.
Right, 52 weeks in a year. It's 2 weeks you're not going. One is
Right.
Christmas and one is 4th of July week.
Right.
Then you have people with a Cigna or an Aetna or a Blue Cross, which have a deductible, which means that if they have a $2,000 deductible and we charge $200 a session, they would have to pay full price for 10 sessions
Before they start getting.
they would start paying.
That doesn't make sense.
Right, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And then you have people with high copays. You know what? The company's saying we'll give you unlimited visits, but you just pay $50 a visit. And can you imagine? The gentleman called me the other day. Very positive, kind of progressive sounding brother. He had 4 kids, and he was going through the issues. The 21-year-old has a problem with marijuana. The 19-year-old has, issues in college. The 17-year-old has this, graduation in doubt from high school, etc. He wanted all 4 of them to come. $50 copay for each of them. So can you imagine if they come monthly?
Yeah,
That is
$200.
like
It's a bill.
that's $800 a month in
it's-
mental health bills. Nobody, for the most part, and I shouldn't say nobody, but the middle class that I'm dealing with, people who are teachers, police officers, entrepreneur, and
small business
correction
owners or
officer,
whatever.
right? These people are paying mortgages. They own a house in Valley Stream. They own a house in Elmont.
Right.
They don't have $600 or $800 a
Spare.
month,
Right.
Right.
for mental health.
Right, for mental health.
So that it's really problematic, and so
$40 for a bottle.
That's right. Yeah.
Do the math.
right.
Getting
Just you
smarter
might look
here.
at it
We're
like
getting
that.
smarter. No, but that. So speaking of the bottle, I mean, alcoholism is rampant in every family, and the marijuana now is becoming
Epidemic level.
Yeah, I mean, so now like we talk about the opioids crisis and all this other stuff, and this is common. What you hear everybody saying, "Oh, it wasn't a problem until." Those folks started using it, and now it's a crisis. When we had crack, it was spreading that shit around like peanut butter. Like it was, it was funny to everybody. Oh, look at the people on crack. Look at the crackheads and zombies. I mean, literally Walking Dead of all these movies and zombie movies.
Yeah.
That shit ain't
Famous
nothing but
portrayals.
Yeah.
But that's nothing but
Yeah.
the 80s. That shit was like 40
yeah.
projects in the 80s. I mean, motherfuckers pushing shopping cart.
Well, I think what happened with opioids was that I think there was a time when the state cracked down on prescriptions.
Yeah.
Like, so you could no longer walk in with a prescription
Yes.
book and just hand it and say you want this.
Right.
So now this has to be verified. This has to be, we're going to check 2-3 times because this seems like a weird dose that you're getting here.
Right.
So we're going to make several phone calls before we give you this prescription.
Tell the doctor to give me a drop of his blood and social
Right,
security
yeah,
number
stuff like
before
that.
we
Or
even-
sometimes they don't even deal with you directly. They deal directly with the
Right.
doctor. Well,
Yeah, they transmit it
when the
directly
doctor
from the
calls
computer.
when the doctor
They
calls
put it
me
directly
to say give you this prescription, then I'll give you this prescription. And so now, okay, well I can't get it over the counter, so let me go. Let me
Get the
let me go to the back of the truck. Let me
Right,
go,
right.
let me go get the illegals. Let me go get the whatever you can get over the counter now.
So how in speaking of how much is substance abuse a problem in the mental health world? Is it a self medicating thing? People do it to self medicate. They figure, fuck it, I need a drink. I had a rough day, and what do you say? Do you say don't do that, or because this is what you said before. Like no one wants to be told not to do it,
Right.
And everyone looks for if you turn on the news every week. Oh, health crisis says a glass of wine is not the best thing for you, and then next week
then
it
the
is
next
the
week
best.
it'll be the best thing.
And then the coffee, and then an aspirin. Now aspirin is cancer. Now fucking guy sued for fucking talcum powder, mesothelioma or whatever. This guy got $30 million for putting baby powder in his ass. I've been doing this shit for a long time. Am I in trouble? I mean, this is crazy.
If
So
you lived in Brooklyn or Queens, in the 70s or 80s, the girls that came outside with
Baby
baby powder,
Baby powder all
over the
over them,
neck.
all over in the summertime.
They were like, now that girl, if nothing else, she's clean. That's a good
There
chick.
you go.
right.
That might have been that might have been what that was for.
Yeah.
So let me let everybody know that
I think
I'm
it
a little
was.
clean. I put on my tube top and a neck full of powder. And
That's exactly it.
That's what it was. It was she took a bath.
yeah,
Okay.
she's clean. All right,
Or she
all
just
right.
put the powder on
right.
over the fucking.
Well, you could tell those when you get up a
Yeah,
little
man.
close.
You
You could
you
say, hey,
smell like
just,
a stripper.
you just cover up. Is that all you just did?
Oh, so
But,
but that's it's good to hear that people are actually trying to get help. I mean that's always a good sign when
increased.
people are it's
It's increased a lot.
increased. People are really getting involved and seeking mental health. We think that, on the grassroots style, like these type of platforms of what we're doing is still a form of therapy. Because what happens is the longer you talk, the more things come out. And people start getting relaxed. It's the same thing of what you said about yours. People come on the show, they're tight. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? And all of a sudden, they start loosening up and have a good time. And I think as, humans, that ability to interact is always something that is a tool. It's like a tool. You have to use it or else you lose it.
so let me try to consolidate one of my favorite stories into 60 seconds. So I had a man that lived out here in Long Island, 60-something years old. He came to me, and it was for domestic violence intervention because the judge had said that. It was a crazy story. But what happened was that when the guy came in, he more or less was like, respect to you. He's a Caribbean brother. But what can you tell me? How old are you? He said. And at the time, I was like 41 or 42, and he was like, I'm 61, and I've been a homeowner for 23 years, and he was just running down his life, and he was like, really, there's really nothing that I don't think that you could really tell me, And
he knows it all. He's been through it all.
Yeah, and he was very respectful about it, but I was trying to say to him, it's not about me being able to teach you something as much as it is you being open to this process, because the process itself brings about some discovery usually if you let it. And but like session number 3, he bought me like some squash and stuff from his garden, and he was like, I like you, Don, and, so he told me this story, and the story went like this. Like, he was like born in Jamaica, West Indies. He came to the United States, and when he came to the United States, he came because he got in trouble for hitting a girl with a tray, with one of those metal lunch trays in this lunchroom in Jamaica, West Indies, in a school. He hit this girl over the head with a tray. Or rather, she hit him over the head with a tray. And what he did was he cut her. He was a switchblade master. He was explaining how his brother
Switchblade master
taught him how to use switchblades, and he cut this girl.
cut her.
Your switchblade technique can't mess with my tray technique.
He comes to Brooklyn, and he became like the toughest kid in Bed-Stuy. Like, he would sit in the little parks. And he would have these switchblades, and people who would challenge him, like, why are you in my hood, or where we are, you're not really supposed to be here.
Okay.
He would end up cutting people, and so he became famous in Brooklyn. Then he graduated to somebody he got with a gunman, and then they started robbing they wouldn't rob like the innocents. They would rob like drug dealers and other stick-up guys. They would rob the stick-up guys. Like, they were the people who...
That's the best guy. He's not going to call cops. There's no...
Yeah.
So
he always got cash on.
Yeah.
So he talked about how he then started working, I won't mention where, he started working for a company, and somebody made him mad at work. And
back to his old ways.
He waited until he left his job, he was getting ready to leave from his job. He said that his boss had gave him specific instructions for his last day, because he actually got a better job. So he's gonna pack up his desk a certain way, leave the office supplies a certain way, whatever. He said instead what he did was he came in with a tablecloth, and he put it on the floor, and he threw everything off of the desk and wrapped it up. And he threw it out the window. And he said that the dude who had made him mad like a year earlier, he had a golf club that he brought to work with him.
Okay.
Grabbed the golf club and rolled up on the dude. And the dude was like, I don't want no smoke. I don't want. So what ended up happening was that he left, and I was like, did you get arrested? He was like, no, the police were running in and I was walking out. And so he just described through his life all of these, like, he basically had an anger issue his whole life, but it never got addressed.
It was always rewarded, actually.
Yeah, he actually came out on top in a lot of cases. Actually, he was living in Long Island, and somebody stole his son's bike. He even hurt the dude. It was another kid. He hurt the kid, and he almost got into some trouble behind that, but somehow that got dropped. So this was really in his 60s. This was the first time that
somebody said, "Hey,
you really have to go deal with this."
Switchblade master.
Well, but that goes all the way back to like the first incident when he was in school. Like, he didn't get punished for that. Yes, you got hit in the head with a tray. I think a switchblade is you went a little bit too far in your retaliation, but it was never dealt with. So it just got shipped off, and he went to do something. To Brooklyn of all places. Not freaking Westchester. You went to Brooklyn, so where that gets exacerbated all over again. And that's interesting, man.
That's pretty freaking weird. I mean, that's what I meant. I mean, you must hear and see some crazy, shit that can enough to make you go a little batty yourself. I mean, I don't know how many guys in your field wind up, on the other side of the couch, so to speak. But do you have the couch? Do you have like the
Yeah.
You have the setup like in TV.
I
like,
wish I had an image for you. Yeah, we have a couch. Yeah.
And do I lean back and just
I
kind of?
had one guy come in and lay across the couch, but most people just sit.
Up
I
and
have
just,
2 pillows. Some people grab the pillows and
okay.
hold the pillows or lean on the pillows.
Okay, so there's some security things.
Yeah, but most people don't do the lay back on the couch.
Oh, well, it started out when I was a little boy, and
It's amazing what people do. I always never. Everybody, you guys watch that show, First 48?
Yeah.
no, I don't.
The First 48? Oh, I think
used
you
to
think
watch
you
it.
like it.
Is that?
No. The First 48 is it's about an actual crime was committed, and they document how the detectives are trying to figure out what happened, and they got
in the
48
first
hours.
48 hours.
If they find out something in the first 48 hours, then there's a good chance that they can find the suspect.
There's a good chance of it.
But every time they always interview somebody in the squad room, they always sit and they roll up their in their shirt, and they always put their hands in their shirts, and they're always sitting there like this. And I'm saying to myself, are all of these squad rooms just fucking cold
Yes,
as hell? Do
I
they
think so.
deliberately keep them that cold?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Because everybody does, even older people, younger people, they just sitting there and they just roll up and then they just sit like this. And I'm like, is this like a comfort thing? Are they just trying to get comfortable? Or are they legitimately
fucking cold.
freaking damn near freezing before they go in there? That's a little offshoot tangent. Do you
good notice?
Do you prescribe to a certain is your style more behavioral? Is it more cognitive? Is it more? I mean, do you go by a certain?
You know all about this. It's cognitive therapy.
Okay.
So for the most part,
Told you we getting smart, motherfuckers. I keep doubting us. We got degrees and shit.
I read a lot.
He reads. He's a big reader.
Well, I read a lot of. I've read Carl Jung, and I've read Rogers, and I've that. I mean, I'm sure you've done your share of reading Freud, and we've gotten away from that. I think Rogers is a guy that we kind of use more because he was sort of more of a behavioralist. He was like, okay, well, this might
more like Ellis.
Okay.
I think Ellis.
Okay.
Ellis was the cognitive, rational, emotive therapy.
Right.
That's really a lot of the model that they said is the most evidence based.
Right.
Rogers was like unconditional positive regard, judge not, show no judgment at all. I mean, what the difference with Rogers and Ellis is that Ellis, he wouldn't say to judge, but I actually went to one of Albert Ellis's demonstrations where he was demonstrating cognitive behavioral therapy in 1998, and he would say things to the client like, so why do you think that you have to listen to everything your parents are saying? Why do you have to take it seriously? What, because it's your parent? And he would let the person answer that, and he would say, well, I mean, if what your parents are saying is leading you to feel shitty, what do you do to get de-shittified? So he would say things like that. But in saying those kind of things, he really would try to identify what the thought was. Do you believe that you have to follow what your parents say because they're your parents? Do you actually believe what your parents are saying to you?
Right.
Because if you don't believe that you should have to marry a Jewish girl because you're Jewish, I challenge you to think about the fact that you don't believe that and that you may have to move on from that belief.
Yeah, that sounds. I mean, most of the time you always look at it, and whenever you stand back and look, it sounds common sense. I mean, most of the stuff sounds common sense, but what people get caught up in is their rat race of their life, of managing, like you said, the mortgage, managing this, managing the boss, managing all this time and only 24 hours to do it, and then they do it all over again. That monotony is what drives people nuts. I mean, it makes people, they feel like they don't have this excitement in their life. So this is why the social media has become such a fantasy to people. They get to be something they're not. They get to put a face on. They get to say, I'm doing glorious things. You're sitting there watching me. You should be out doing, So this is now a new, I think for you, it's like new work, right? It's like new clients now. Every time they come out with a new app, it's like, okay, now I need to, I got to learn how to do the app so that I can
understand the thought process of this person. But I really wanted to go on a part of what you were saying, like, so each person not only gets caught up in their, I agree with you, each person does get caught up in the monotony of what they have to do to survive. I got to keep up this mortgage. I have to make sure my son gets in the, high school or college or whatever.
Makes
all
the
of these
team,
things,
whatever. Anything.
Right. But then there's also, I have to hold on to my identity. And that's kind of like the example I gave about the Jewish kid only thinking he can date a Jewish girl because that's what his mom or dad said. The identity is very strong. So you have people coming from, black people coming from a Christian point of view. People are struggling with the fact that their dad or their mom was a preacher and that
they don't want to do preacher stuff.
Right.
They don't want to be PKs. They don't want to be...
Exactly. And they're struggling. That's cognitive therapy in its essence, because if you're like, you might not be saying it in words, but I really don't want to be in church every Sunday. I really don't believe this specifically or that specifically. But when you ask people directly, do you believe this? They say, well, I was taught,
raised to.
That's exactly what they say. Right. I was raised to believe this. No, I didn't say.
It's like fucking Dallas Cowboy fans. Every fucking Dallas Cowboy fan was raised as a Dallas Cowboy fan. None of them are actual fans. They all say, well, my dad was, so I am.
Right, so I am. Right. By extension. But is that actually who you are?
Is that your identity?
Right.
Like, is that your identity? Correct. Or is this an identity that just has handed to you?
You just created it.
And you sort of blindly accepted that identity, even though you mentioned all these, well, I don't believe in X, Y, Z, and that's, well, then it begs the question, well, then why would you say that you are this?
But then there's all of these distortions, because people who usually when people have a conflict with what they believe, they show that conflict somehow. They, they've done something very different than what that identity would dictate.
Fucking upset your parents. You do some weird shit. You go get locked up. I've been through that shit. But sexually is the new problem too. People are struggling with their sexual identity. And now, the more they flash it on TV, people are thinking, oh, okay, well, it's okay for me to be, I can remember with guys, they throw bottles at gay people, you know what I mean? And, you faggot, and they were like really ostracized. So now that, coming out, and I guess, again, TV seems to make things easier for people. It's normal, it's regular, it's this. But there's a huge mental struggle that happens there, that goes in people's, and they just don't know how to deal with it. So I would assume that that's a portion of the business. Like someone says, I'm dealing with this, how do I do it? Now, that's got to be fucking tough to tell someone, just be yourself, and kind of you'll be okay when someone's throwing a bottle at you,
Right.
Like you're not accepted by people.
Or what we said before, your
parents,
mom is going to be so freaking disappointed that it's almost like, at high school graduation, are they going to want to invite my aunts and everybody else once I tell them that I'm this gay kid? And I've been dealing with this since I've been a high school counselor, because often I had high school boys who it was pretty clear that they were gay.
Yeah, they figured it out.
Well, it was pretty clear that they were gay, but then when you would talk to them, they would be trying to be straight. And sometimes that was even worse, because the boys, the other boys could see you're gay. Right. They might not even be saying it, but they're like, you're different from us. Right. We're not really hanging with you. Right. We're not really inviting you to play ball with us. And so the kid is trying to be straight, but it's a conflict, and it is a high level of suicide attempts among kids who struggle with gay identity,
sexual identity. Yeah.
Conversely, the girls, it was as if you could be a girl and then dip in and out of being gay in the high schools, because what I witnessed a lot of is that
the butchy bisexual chicks.
I would talk to girls who were in a relationship with another girl, and they would say, "Oh, Mr. Sinkfield, yes, I'm in a relationship with Jalissa right now, but I'm going to get married later. This is just for now, which is something that boys can't do. Boys can't say, I'm in a relationship with Joseph right now,
Right.
but later
when I'm
on,
done, I'm gonna have a family and 3 kids.
Right,
and
right,
stuff.
right.
I'm just temporarily feeling this out.
Well,
I guess.
I don't know how far down this wormhole we're gonna go, but I'll just go ahead and say it. I said I think in many ways we've sort of become a society that kind of like, in many ways we've punished manhood.
Yes.
We've sort of
We've punished the alpha male.
We've sort of taken all of those things that you know, because we have more testosterone, because we tend to be a little bit more aggressive, because we tend to be a little bit more, I guess you say, that stereotypical alpha male.
Yeah.
Well, we take all the negative aspects of that and say, well, we don't want the negative aspects of that, so you got to get rid of all of that. Well, you can't.
Right. It's part of life.
You know, you can't. And so it begs the question, like, once that is gone, if you remove that, something fills that void, because we've been kind of doing this for a few million years. I mean, this is kind of this is kind of like how it worked out.
Kind of like how it works.
You know, this is how we're all here now.
We have to make babies.
So if you don't have it there, something's going to take its place. You know, and that's where I think it lends into a lot of confusion. I think it lends into, you know, I'll never understand why a woman would want to be a feminine female, but is attracted to a male-like female. Like a butch female. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of
why
like...
does it have to be a butchy?
Right. It's like, well, you're attracted to females, but you're attracted to a female that acts more like a stereotypical alpha male.
Right.
So it's a confusing thing, and I don't want to act like I should have the answers or don't know the answers.
I don't understand. I mean, that baffles me all the time. I look at it, but then I look at it this way. I said, what woman wants to wake up to some man's hairy ass?
Yeah.
You know, I'm a gross motherfucker. Like
Man,
I'm gorilla with,
yes.
Who wants to fucking lay next to me?
At our worst, we are not the most attractive.
Right. So I kind of look at that. I'm like, you got to be some kind of, to want to, cuddle up with some guy who hasn't bathed in 2 days and hasn't shaved and whatever else, but you love him.
Yeah.
And you're laying in bed with him.
That's right.
I mean, so there's a person for someone, I guess. And I guess
he starts groping at you. Then let's go to Outback afterwards.
Yeah, baby, I'm taking you
to Outback. Get you a blooming onion.
But in there's tons of things in the mental health world that we will never understand. That we're pleasured by having people like you in the business that are tackling it. Do you feel that you're helping the world? Do you feel that you're one person at a time? Because anytime, like, I'll make a T-shirt for somebody. I made somebody happy. That's my contribution to the. I'm still believing that I'm healing somebody. I'm making someone's dream come true. They fulfilled something, and not so much for the financial benefit of it, because I am rewarded for doing the job. But I do believe, like, that's why I'm asking you. Do you feel that sense of, a guy walking by, like, I treated that, because I do. That guy's wearing my shirt. This guy, But now do you walk by and see a guy? All right. You see a halo around the guy, and you kind of know.
It makes a difference. And I don't mean to at all make like everybody who we've laid our hands on is
now Midas.
Like everyone's healed. They're perfect now. Life is a journey, and it's very human behavior is very unpredictable. Like a person could come to counseling, have a very good period, and then could go into a depression, and it could be worse than the other time.
Wow.
Before they, so it's not all a perfect equation that all on the positive. But yes, I definitely feel like the work we do makes a difference.
You need people to really like what they do and feel like they're contributing by doing not just a mindless job where they're just out there waiting for a paycheck, etc.
Correct.
So where do you see? I've been hearing that we have all these gun problems, gun laws, and all this other stuff. So where do you see the mental health fitting into a guy that goes and shoots up a place? Where were you when that guy was going through it, and could you have helped? Do you feel that if that guy was in your life, or any one of these crazy fuckers, any one of them that go on a rant,
that if they were receiving counseling, that it would help?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah,
I do. I mean, I think that unfortunately, school counseling I was a school counselor.
Right, I remember
Unfortunately, I think that the job became more and more.
Well, you were handcuffed. You couldn't do things, right?
Yeah, more
you
administration
could, right.
heavy. Like you're running PPT meeting, you're running at-risk students meeting, you're tracking region exams. You're on the computer doing whatever to track student progress, but it was taking you away from the personal interaction with the students.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And so then what would happen is that those people that you're talking about, if they are school age, if they were high school, if they had a counselor who was maybe devoted to the 9th grade or 10th grade who really knew the student body and could get a sense like, you know what, Ivan is being isolated. He needs to be someone I talk to more. I do think that more would come out. You would get a higher possibility of Ivan having an intervention before he does something crazy. And it's the same on multiple levels, like homelessness, drug addiction, mental health issues all go together. So and even unemployment, so the unemployed person who's being evicted, who's using drugs, if you had social services really give an intervention to those people, you would probably get a higher possibility of intervention before something crazy happens.
Right. So what? I mean, again, we're not in. We talk about this all the time because we're not in school, but we think it doesn't happen. But it's the guidance counselor. I could remember the guidance counselor in a school being someone you can go talk to about kind of anything. It was like, hey, go see the guidance counselor if you're having some issues at home. You want to talk to somebody privately. Is that around? Is that still available for a kid to go and knock on the door and say, I need to go see the guidance counselor?
It's still around. I just think that it's unfortunately it's decreased. If you talk to guidance counselors, they're overwhelmed with the things that I mentioned. I mean, and the better you are, if you can do I was not very talented with doing a report in 30 minutes, with graphs and, who didn't pass the region. So it would take me a longer time, which means that I'm less available to the students.
Right.
You have guidance counselors who could whip that stuff up faster than I could, who, because of that, they're able to be more available, but it's still...
So a technical competency...
Yes.
made them more applicable than the actual competency itself. Like it
makes a difference.
But it's silly. It's silly. We're seeing that now happening in every field. Like why do you want a teller, an ATM machine instead of a real teller? People are constantly being forced out of the business of being people persons.
Right.
Yeah.
So we talk about this on almost every show, and we're finally seeing that the brainwashing that has happened throughout time in our era, we're seeing people that are okay with this. They're okay with making themselves obsolete. People are dying to not have the responsibility of anything. I don't want to drive anymore. I want to text all the way to work. Put me in this auto car and let's get on with it. So when we talked about the gun issues, people are wanting this problem to go away and not addressing the problem of, again, a butter knife could kill someone. A pencil, I could stab you with this. I have to be mentally fucked to try to do this. This didn't do it. We shouldn't go sue Bic. We shouldn't go after, it's going after the people. So I do believe what you said, that the process in healing and helping people has gone by the wayside because it became a technical thing, whereas I don't think these people at these schools, 600 kids in the school, 300, you can't talk to every one of them.
Well, yeah, and we used to live in, like, community used to be a big thing.
Yeah.
Your community used to be an important thing, and that's where you
Correct.
talked with other people, and you had an understanding as to what this person was and what that person was going through. And as we've, progressed as a society, we've gotten, a little bit more technical, and, we're smarter. We can do more things. You don't need to carry money and all that stuff like that. But we've lost a sense of community. We don't know who. We don't know who our neighbors are.
I don't even know my neighbors. I've been here 10 years. I don't even know this fucking guy's name. I don't know this guy.
Yeah, and in
I know one neighbor here.
And in a school used to be just another extension of that community. And there were some people you liked, some people you didn't get along, but you talked with everybody, and there was an understanding that you were there for people, and it was smaller. So I mean, are we meant to be? How many people live in Queens? Like over what?
Gotta be like 2 million.
Like 2 million
I don't
people.
know. That's a weird.
I mean, are we meant to live in these like dense groups like that, where we're like all over top of each other? Where you have a school of 600 people and 2 guidance counselors who are mandated to
check
you're
boxes.
supposed to make sure,
Right.
And so if something did happen, so how come you didn't see so and so? He had a problem in your school, and
That's right.
you're the one you're the guidance counselor. How come you didn't see him? So well, I got these other 600 kids that you want me to look at,
Right.
And meetings and
and your meetings
charts
and your charts and
Yeah.
your
Yeah, fucking charts. I go crazy with charts at work and all this. I'm like, guys, I could do more work in the field, getting out there, making the phone calls than, we use Salesforce, and it's always, Salesforce, make sure you put it in Salesforce. I'm like, fucking with this fucking Salesforce. It's on the pen. I talked to the guy. I called him. He's not ready for us. Whatever. But there's so much form over substance now. I mean, everybody's digging these algorithms. I mean, everyone's into, the rudimetrics of it and not the metrics of it. They're into the analytics, the sports analyst guys spend more time you watch a game and they're talking stats?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up and let's watch the game.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, he scores 38 points in the power does, and then back in 20 minutes he did this. We want to watch the fucking game. So this is where we're starting to see people like, all right already, like, how much stats are you going to come up with to have stats on top of stats?
Right.
The guy needs help. And so, in this kid, on whether it's the one in, Columbine or anywhere, somewhere along the line, someone could have touched this guy. I don't know. I'm reaching for something here. I'm saying that there was.
I agree with you.
There was some kind of a KISS plan that could have.
It's a breakdown.
Yeah.
It's a breakdown.
And there's a break. So his community failed him. Is that right to say? Like, the people
To an
around him
extension,
failed
yeah.
him?
To an extension,
and
you'd
they
probably
failed
say
all
that.
those other people.
Well, let me ask you. So let's say, I'm assuming that of your, you treat your clients, but are there clients who, after you meet with them for a while, you say, hey, look, you probably need something that's maybe a little bit more extensive than what I can provide. You probably need to actually see maybe a psychotherapist or
a psychiatrist.
or a psychiatrist.
We're psychotherapists.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
you're a psychotherapist, but not
Okay.
a psychiatrist.
I get the
Psychiatrist
two,
uses
the two
medicine.
mixed up,
So,
But
right,
yes,
they
but
use
you do
medicine.
need
right.
you do need to see another form of mental health profession to help you along, because I can only take you but so far.
Yeah.
Do this. Do you encounter that?
Oh yeah.
A lot.
And sometimes we'll say to a person, we have a psychiatric nurse practitioner that we work with. We'll recommend that. A lot of people are very anti-medication,
Right.
And so
With good reason.
Yeah, with good reason.
some
Get
people
lobotomized.
it'll be like harder to get them to consider that, but
Sometimes it's necessary.
in some cases it can be helpful. The medication can help to balance the person out. I mean, if you go to a psychiatrist, it's about probably an 80% likelihood that you're going to be prescribed
Something.
because
Up or down, one or the other. Something to get you up or something to take you down, because that's kind of the way it goes. And then they'll give you something for the side effects, and you have an oily discharge. All of these things lead to an oily discharge, and I want to know why. Fix the oily discharge.
I mean, you talked about some of the mass shootings. I think all of them were on some form of psychotropics.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I think all of them. I think the only exception is the person who was
Lanza?
in Vegas.
Oh, Vegas. Oh, he broke the code here. This guy.
But yeah, because he didn't fit any of the boxes.
Yeah, he didn't
you
check
know.
any boxes.
But I think everybody else, for the most part, was on some form of psychotropic
That's
medication.
interesting. I don't know the stats on
Yeah.
that.
Right, I'm sure.
And I'm not saying that psychotropics caused them to
Right.
do this, but it says the extent of what that individual was suffering with. And I think people don't think about it that way, that people are suffering through those.
Yeah, but you don't hear guys going smoking weed, going around killing. Weed is just. Hey, man,
Where's my AR-16?
Where's that?
Give me that
Never mind.
fucking AR. Guys in the hood to do it. Guys in the hood.
AR-15 and do it with some more chips.
I know.
I want some more chips. Give me some more. So what is? I mean, I don't want you to have to commit yourself to anything. But what are your feelings on things like on something like marijuana, in which a lot of people are pushing for the legalization of marijuana? I think New York State now has medical. Approved for medical marijuana,
right.
and there's a push to make marijuana actually legal.
Certain amounts,
Right? A certain amount of legal.
Yeah.
I think the governor proposed. I think like if you caught with like an ounce, then it's we're not going to bother you or something like that. I don't know how far that went, but is marijuana an issue?
There's two different things here. There is the over criminalization of small amounts of marijuana,
Right?
That puts
People in jail.
13 to 21-year-olds in jail.
Right. And takes away from their
gives them like
families and
warrants.
Right.
So,
Put you
14
in the
years
system.
old, 16 years old, you don't have, you didn't go to court for a warrant for the little weed that you had in November. Now you're being put through the system because they did a sweep on the block.
Right.
You're outside and you had a warrant. So that it's a problem because that over criminalization of black kids is becoming, or not becoming, has been something that's damaged our community. Everybody
That I agree.
has been through the system, and when you find out what they've been through
Right.
the system for, it doesn't turn out that they're dangerous people.
Because you had a dust of weed on you.
Yeah, it turns out that you didn't go to court and you jumped the turnstile or you had a little weed or something. So that's a problem. But smoking weed every day is a problem in itself.
Okay.
I really, people, I know some people would vehemently disagree with me, but from what I see, I mean, it's a problem. Yeah, people lose motivation and everything is focused around when they can get to that weed.
Right.
They're hanging with certain people. They're going to this person's house. Their schedule, everything. Oh, I'm not going to apply for that job because I know they're going to do a test. I'll do that.
Right.
They're pushing things back months because they smoke weed. It's a problem.
That's a problem.
Smoking that procrastination.
That's a problem. And that's a big difference between that and the person that comes home from work and has a tote in their backyard or something, or somebody who can smoke yet still be a productive individual. There's a I forget the guy's name. Oh, what's the doctor's name? Doctor out of Columbia, Carl Anderson. I can't remember his name. But he did a lot of studies with. One of the things that he said was we tend to conflate use and addiction.
Right.
And we tend to think that, well, if you've used a drug, then we tend to assume that you are addicted to a drug. And I think there are actually like mandates to which you have to say that you are addicted. Like I think there are mandates that says if like it has to follow certain criteria, like it has to like disrupt a certain social life. It has to prevent you from doing certain things. There's certain criteria, because if you just want to say that you're chemically dependent on something, well that's sugar. That's coffee. That's everything. That's a donut. That's
But you're right, and I think in a grand scheme of things, you're always gonna have these different vices. Everybody needs a vice, but you are very true. But I think it comes from the like you have to learn what this drug is going to do to your body. So when your friend rolls you up a joint and you're gonna love it, it's great, and then you start doing it yourself, and then you're like, and once you need a self-discipline. You also need the guy to go, yo, dude, wake the fuck up. You got to go to work, bro. Right. So if you don't have good weed friends, my man Jimmy Fingers, God bless the dead, this is 13 Ghosts here. This motherfucker will be like, everybody get up. Get the fuck up. You got to go to work. Go to work.
Time to get your life on.
Get up. And they, okay. Oh. And you straight. You gotta have good weed friends, man. You gotta have guys that know how to smoke and could. Yo, let's go. Let's get everybody moving here. Let's go. Because if you're, that shit's crazy. You got another one?
Well, it's the same. I mean, same thing with alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, we tend to like replace alcohol with weed because we say one's legal, one's not legal, one's not legal. But alcohol is just probably even more so
I think
disruptive.
It's more.
You know, because there are people who drink all the time and they can't even. I mean, they're at a point where they can't even function without it.
Yeah,
It's
like
like
Denzel the movie.
it is such an integral part of their lives that they can't even function without it. Like they have to be drunk in order to that's their normal. When you see them and they seem like a decent human being, well, it's because they're drunk.
Yeah.
You know, if they have to come down off of that high that they have, then that's when they're a volatile SOB.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how those substances.
I saw one of the cop shows, and the guy said, "Yeah, you gotta walk a straight line." And the guy said, "Give me another beer."
That's
He said, "I can't walk that fucking line. I'm sober and down. I need another beer. I walk that line perfect." And the guy was like, "All right, come with me. You're getting arrested." But you know, it's so many so many facets that I think the educational part of it is. I watched a great show. I don't know if you guys have seen Vice version of
Vice News.
Well, Vice they put out a mini series with Michael K. Williams. Okay?
Oh, okay.
And he did Raised in the System was the first one. Okay, and he's got like 6-part series. I watched some of them. It's weird because I saw them on the plane, but then they look like they just came out now. And this one, Raised in the System, was very interesting. It was a tearjerker. I fucking was in tears the whole thing. Here's why. They had he went through different cities talking about guys being youthfully charged and over criminalized for silly shit, rob a pocketbook, no second chance, and then it's like all of a sudden they're in the system, and they go from there to murder to and they've done some, and they're just surviving. They're going through their regular lives as surviving, and this is all they know. There's a young lady, sister. Takesha Muhammad, something like that, and I thought she was one of the Shabazz, like from Malcolm, but she's not. She's out in Newark, and her class has they teach the kids about prison, coloring books. My uncle Johnny got arrested.
Really?
Fucking amazing. Now you would look at it and go, "That's horrible. You're teaching these kids about prison and this and that." And she says, "Not when 95% of my students are evolution of prison. They are gonna have this conversation. So by not talking about it makes you even more into the life. You actually believe that this is your life. My daddy was locked up. My brother, all my cousins in jail. So you now embody this same character that you keep personifying." So she does this thing to break the kids out of it. Like, they color a fucking prison coloring book with, the guy from his arraignment. They teaching them all of these all of this concept.
Wow.
And what's the purpose of it?
So the purpose is to let them deal with the fact that prison life is real to them. That it's not a shameful thing. It's normal because you're living with it. And eventually, she's saying, if we can get past this, these kids can grow up not believing that they're doomed. They already have the sense of doom. They're already like, I know I'm gonna be in jail, so I might as well get the good one. I might as well make it $1 million. I might as well rob a bank. I might as well, because I know I'm going to jail.
So denormalizing.
She's saying
culture.
this is not normal. However, this is our life. We get it, and this is why Johnny's in jail. Your uncle Timmy and what he did. This is why he's in jail. He did something bad. He did, free.
Versus it being part of life itself.
That's not like he chose that. He did something wrong, and this is the crime. And it was such a riveting show. You got to really watch it because they more than what I'm saying with it. But I thought it was a great concept because what it did is, and there's one kid who at the end says, "Look, I want to." He was talking about how he was abused. His father would just beat the shit out of him for I was a hard worker, same way you said this guy is, and he would beat his son, like trying to beat grades out of him or whatever. And he's like, it didn't make me want to do better in school. I hated fucking school. I want to run away. I want to do all this stuff. So he then, there's like, what do you want? He says, I want to be a social worker. I want to help other kids. I want to make sure that no one goes through this. And that they can see it from me because I've been through it. And he was an 9-year-old kid talking about like he wants to be a DIFUS worker, which is the Jersey version of what my wife does here. So it was riveting, man. And I'm on Facebook. I'm like, this is the shit y'all should be sharing, not these fucking girls fighting over chicken nuggets in McDonald's. You know, this is the criminalization stuff that we're being faced with all this content that's so negatively surrounding.
Yeah,
It's true.
Goofball stuff. Like, really? Chicks fighting in McDonald's and
we all got a phone. Everybody, we all got a phone.
It is.
We all got a phone, and we don't look to be the possible rectifier of solutions. We want to be able to say that we caught it.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh,
So if we see a fight, it's not somebody say, oh, whoa, Phyllis, chill. It's just
get your phone.
Yeah.
That's fucked up, and I hate to see that. Like, shoot the guy that's fucking filming.
I know.
You beat him up. Beat that guy up. But Don, it was awesome having you here.
Thank you, son. It was awesome being here.
We really like your perspective on things. We hope to have you back again after you've cured a few more people.
You guys are some master conversationers. I do this all day.
You get paid for it. We don't.
yeah, exactly. That's why I thought you were trying to sneak a session in there. You were asking a couple questions about your wife.
Yeah, well, I just got a free session in there. So, and I got the KISS plan. I'm signing up for the KISS plan. So once again, tell the people where they could find you. Tons of people out there. Some of our subscribers, even maybe us, maybe need some help. So where can people go to find you? It's called.
I'm the CEO and lead therapist of Help to Adjust Counseling and Anger Management, 17 West Merrick Road in Valley Stream, centrally located, and www.valleystream.therapist.com.
Not the rapist.
And not the rapist. Therapist. And Help to Adjust _ Don Sinkfield on Instagram.
Nice. So,
thank you, people.
No, thank you. Thanks for coming down. And as usual, we try to be a blessing to someone else. Or fuck them. He likes to say.
Wait, y'all had like that on cue. Or fuck 'em. That's right. Or fuck 'em.
Thanks for coming, Don. Nice to
Thanks,
see you.
man.
2 Bros Podcast, episode 27. We are out.
No, the counter wasn't moving.
I'm taping it now. Where we at?
We're at Charlie Meany's.
Valley Stream.
2 Bros Podcast.
13 Ghost TV. Take a little respite.
Comment.
With some wings. Like,
Doing the wing
comment,
thing.
subscribe. Doing the wing thing. Doing the drink thing. Just relaxing. This is how men do it.
This is how men do it. And remember, don't fucking use ranch.
Ranch is fucking evil. It's blue cheese.
It's blue cheese, baby.
Blue cheese. Peace.
Peace.